good evening. Tonight, I'm really happy to be here in the Django meetup again, along with Aleksandar from CodeBrew, who's gonna speak today about build REST API with Django REST framework, and more about the topic is gonna tell himself. I want to say thank you to Launchy, special thank you, because we are here tonight in the Hopin platform thanks to them, and something else, because next week we are having HackConf online talk on Tuesday about Flutter. So if anybody has an interest to hear more about Flutter, feel free to join us again at 7 p.m. Eastern European Time to learn more along with Majid Hajan. So now, Aleksandar, it's your turn, and I'm telling goodbye for now. Good luck.
I will start with the presentation. So I will share my screen first. And the presentation is about Django REST framework. So just 1 second. So we are going to talk about the Django REST framework. First, what is REST? REST means representational state transfer. This is a software architecture style that defines a set of constraints to be used for creating web services. Web services that are conform that of the REST architecture style called RESTful web services. REST web services allow the requesting system to access and manipulate texture representation of the web resources by using a uniform and predefined set of stateless operations. The REST framework contains a couple of constraints. The constraints are client-server architecture, statelessness, cacheability, a large system, uniform interface, and code on demand. The code on demand is an optional one. After a couple of minutes, you will understand why. So starting from the client-server architecture, the client-server architecture, the principle behind the client-server constraints is that the separation of concerns, separating the user interface concern from the data storage concerns, improve the probability of the user interface across multiple platforms. That means that if you separate all the logic, you can have the server logic, which will communicate with the backend and the database, and you can have different interfaces in the face of, let's say, mobile applications. You can easily multiply the mobile applications, like you can develop it from Android and you can develop it for iOS, and everything will be easily scalable across the multiple platforms. It also improves scalability by simplifying the server components. Perhaps most significant to the web is that the separations allow the components to evolve independently. That means that when you're creating this, despite the communication, all the components can independently have a different functionality, or you can add a new functionality to the, let's say, to the iOS application and a different part in the Android application that doesn't affect the client architecture. After that, the statelessness, that means the client-server communication is constrained by no client context being stored on the server between requests. Each request from the client contains all the information necessary to service the request, and the session state is held in the client. That means that when we are developing our application, if we have, let's say, a mobile application which stores and display all the products that you have in your database, you make a request to get all the information for the products. This request does not depend on any other request. If you want to go after that and see one of the products from the list, when you execute the request to check the information about one of the products, that does not depend on the previous request that you made. That's make it statelessness. Cacheability, response must implicitly or explicitly define themselves as either cacheable or not cacheable. to prevent clients from providing stale of inappropriate data in response to further requests. Most of the applications, when you have, let's say again about the products page, when you have product which was not updated, all the information from the server cannot be sent to the application. You can use in request header a e-tag. E-tag is unique string which is generated when you have, let's say, the product was updated. By the updated date, you will create the e-tag, send it to the mobile application. On the mobile application, if the user wants again to check this product, send this e-tag. If the e-tag is the same as on the server side does not return all the data for the product, like pictures, text, or something like that. It only returns the empty response and say that nothing has changed. So if the servers at the client side have implemented cacheability, that means that you can only display the things that you have cached, and you won't have that bandwidth between the client and the server side. Alert system. So the next one is alert system. A client cannot ordinarily tell whether it is connected directly to the end server or to intermediary along the way. If a proxy or load balancer is placed between the client and the server, it won't affect their communication, and there won't be a need to update the client or the server code. Intermediate servers can improve systems capability by enabling load balancing or by providing shared cache. Also, security can be added as a layer at the top of the web services. This is very useful when you want to be sure that your application and your end application and your servers are secure. You can add a lot of layers. As I said, you can add a load balancer, which will help the communication between the servers, but neither the client or the server side will note that there is another layer between all the structure of your application and of your platform. Uniform interface. The uniform interface constraint is fundamental to the design of any RESTful API, RESTful system. It simplifies and decouples the architecture, which enable each part to evolve independently. As I said before that, you can easily create a new functionality on the client side, like adding new screen to your mobile application. But if you don't need to make a request to the server, this can be done without it. So it's easy to scale one or the other part. And last, code on demand. This is the optional one. Servers can temporarily extend or customize the functionality of a client by transferring executable code. For example, compiled components such as Java applets or client-side scripts such as JavaScript could be sent from the server to the client, but this is an optional one, and it's not very popular. It's not used very much. So this was the constraint for the REST API. So what's an API? API is application programming interface. The REST is architecture style, an API designed to expose certain aspects of application business logic on a server. REST API access a resource for data URI. So when you have an API, you just describe how the communication to your server is executed and how, if everybody wants to use it, how they are going to use it. So right now we're going to go to building a RESTful API with Django. For first, I'm going to show you how you can do that without Django REST framework. After that, I will show how you can do it easier with the Django REST framework. So I already have created an application. The application is called Hotel App. The Hotel App right now contains, just 1 second.
Aleksandar?
Yes?
It's some problem people can't see.
Yeah, I will move from the. I want to start only the server. Yeah, I'll
wait.
just down.
Everybody can see and hear Alexander? Okay. Okay, that's perfect. I'm sorry then.
Yeah, so I have created a Django project and created a Django application. The Django application contains the app is called hotels. It contains a model. The model is a hotel, which only have a name. So if you want to build a RESTful API with Django, we can do it like extending.
Sorry. Can you zoom in a bit? Zoom in?
Just. Is this okay?
I think so.
So when using only Django, we can create our class-based view and extend the view, the generic view from Django. After that, we can create our get method and our post method. Our get method will return the list of all the hotels that we have. Our post method will create a new hotel. So how we're going to do that? We override the get method. After that, we get all the hotels. We get them as values with the PK and name, and we are casting that to list because the values return a query set, but we want to return that to the. We want to return it to the JSON response. The JSON response needs a list, so it would be okay. JSON response usually work with dictionary. If you want to pass something else, we need to add a save false. So right now, as you can see, we're returning all the hotels data. When we go here, we can see that we are going to 800 port, that all the data from the hotel is returned in our dictionary. That means that we have created an endpoint which is returning all our data. So right now we want to create a method which the client side, the client, if they want, they can post some information to it. In Django, the post method need to have the CRSF token. So when we create this post method, if we don't know how to send it, we can add the method decorated CRSF exempt or remove the CRSF middleware, which is in the settings. It's CRSF view middleware. This is not a good practice. I'm only showing you this so you will have some knowledge how it can be done only with Django. If you are doing something like that, you probably you will need authentication to implement or some part of it. So you will be sure that every post request that is made to your server is okay and it's authenticated or have the permission to do this. This is only for the example. So we've added the method decorator with the CRSF exempt. And we have the post method, we have the name from the request, and we creating the hotel. I want to check how to zoom here. I'm not sure how I can do it, but if we execute the request post, after that, we can see that we have our new hotel, which is added to our database. This is how you can do this only with Django. Right now, I'm going to move forward and show you how to use a Django REST framework. I have created the same project, which is the same app with the hotels, but I have the difference between the both applications is that in the second one, I'm using Django REST framework. So what are the differences between the first and the second? Of course, I installed the Django REST framework, and I've added it to the install tabs. The other thing is that I've added an authentication token. I will talk about that in a minute. So if we move on, first thing that we're going to do is talk about authentication. As we said in the previous example with the normal Django, when you have a post method, there is a CRSF token which is sent. The authentication here, you can use very different kinds of authentication. There the authentication class, authentication, permissions, and throttling. For the authentication, permissions, and throttling, they're doing the same role. Authentication is the mechanism of associating an incoming request with a set of identifying credential, such as the user and from the request or token that is the request token that is sent. So that means that the authentication classes that we are using will help us know which is the user that is making the request. In the Django REST framework, you can use the session authentication or the basic authentication. They're good only for development purposes. You can use token authentication, which you need to, as you saw in the settings, implement it there and add it in the install tabs. How the token authentication works. The token authentication create a token for every user that is created. It's not created automatically. You, of course, need to create it on a post signal when your user is created. After that, you create a token object and assign the user that was created to this token object. After that, you have a unique token, which will be identifier for this user. Then on the, let's say when you have a login, when the user successfully log in, you will send this token to the client side. In the client side, they need to store this in a session or somewhere. And on every request that the client is making, they need to sign it with this token. The token is sent in the HTTP request header with the authorization. And after that token and the token that is sent. After that, the Django REST framework is doing all the work that you need. And when you're making a request with this token, you can get the request, the user from the request that you're receiving, because Django REST framework is getting this user. This is very useful, but it does not have the it doesn't come with token refreshing. What is a token refreshing? If you want your token to expire, like about maybe 30 days or let's say 1 day, you need to implement the logic for this token expiration. The logic is not very hard. The only thing that you need, when you create a token, you have a creation date. So when you want the token to, when the token expired, on every request that the user is making, you can verify if the date that the token was created minus now is equal to the time that you want the token to expire to. If this is if the time was passed, time's passed when the token expires, you will send a response to the server side that says, to the client side that says that this token expired. Then they will log out the user and prompt him to log in again. Django REST framework, it's easy to integrate OAuth and OAuth 2. I'm not going to show this in the example, but there's packages, and it's easy to add it if you want your application. So the permission classes, the permissions together with authentication and throttling, permission determine where a request should be granted or denied access. So for the permission classes, there are a lot of pre-built permissions, like allow all users to make this request to this endpoint, or deny it all, or the user need to be admin and stuff like that. And the throttling is similar to permission in that it determines if a request should be authorized. Throttle indicate a temporary state and are used to control the rate of requests that client can make to an API. That means that if you want some of your endpoints to have rate limit, you can add the throttling there. The throttling is used when you want you have a sensitive you have information that you don't want the user to see it that often, or if you want to add it to your login view, if you don't want someone to brute force your account or something like that, the throttling can be set to minutes, hours, days, and it's easy customizable in the Django admin settings. So these are the permission classes. Right here we have a hotels view. This is the base. We are extending an API view. API view is like in Django, the base view. After that, as we did in our last example, we implement override the get method. We are getting all the hotels, and we are returning. We are using a serializer, and we're returning the response with the serializer data. So if we go there, just 1 second. You can see that all the information is returned. Other good functionality for Django REST framework is that, as you can see, it comes with pre-built, let's say, admin templates. If you're in the development mode, you can check your request. You can execute request and get all the information from your browser. It doesn't need to. You don't need to write your request and execute it in the terminal, or to use the Postman. This is very helpful and very useful. As you can see here, you can get the HTTP response, the methods that are allowed. Right now, they're get, head, and options. The content type and the array is accept here. As you can see, we can add is authenticated as a permission. And right now, you see that you don't have permission to perform this section. And if we add token authentication as authentication, you can see that there's a WW authentication that you need to send the token, so you can access this endpoint. As you can see right now, the HTTP response right now is 401 unauthorized. If we remove the token authentication, it will be 402, which is forbidden because we want the user to be authenticated, but we are sending only like this request. So after that, the different type of views. As I said, this is the API view. It's the basic view, which, as I said, looks like in Django the base view. After that, we're going to talk about the generics. The generics in Django REST are very useful. They're different types. As you can see in this example, we're using the list create API view. What does that mean? That in the generics views, they're predefined different type of patterns, as is described in the Django REST frameworks, which are mostly used. Like here, we can list and create API view. Here, you only need to set the query set, the serializer, and the serializer class. And if you want, there's a permission class. If I've created a different URL, which is views. So when we go there, you can see that we have the same result as the previous one, but with less code than before that. You only need to set the query set and the serializer class. We don't need anything else. As it's this generic view, there's a list create API view. So you can see here that we are receiving all the data. And Django REST framework here, you can use the create view, which is a post method. We will create hotel number 3, 4, and send it there. And as you can see, it's added to our database. The generic views are very useful. And if you if you want to simplify your code. Of course, if you want to add more functionality and use a generics view, you can override some of the get or the post method and add your code there. And last are the view sets. The view sets, Django REST frameworks allow you to combine the logic for a set or related views in a single class called a view set. View set class is simply a type of class-based view. This does not provide any method handlers such as get or post, and instead provides actions such as list on create. Oh, sorry. As you can see here, there is the hotel view set. We are setting which model we are using right here, and there's the list, create, retrieve, update, partial update, and destroy views. And right here, I'm using hotel model view set, which is we are overriding the model view set. As in the previous example, we are only using the query set and the serializer class. So right here in the URLs, you can see that the view sets can be used with as code in Django REST framework, the routers. Sub-frameworks such as Rails provide functionality for automatically determine how the URLs for an application should be mapped to the logic that deals with the handling income request. Django REST frameworks adds support for automatic URL routing to Django and provide you with a simple, quick, and consistent way of writing your views, logic, and set of rules. Right here, we are implementing a simple router. If we uncomment that and right here, so we register a hotels and we register a hotel models to the router. If we go to the URLs and add something, you can see that there's the hotel, which is have PK for primary key, and it's generated a name for that. We have hotels, which is generated a name for that too. And of course, there's the hotel models and the hotel models URLs. If we go to some of the URLs, you can see that right here, all the information is listed. As this, we can see the methods that are allowed here. There are get, post, head, and options. We can create our new hotel here, of course. And as you can see, the hotel, we have created it. And if we want, we can get or update the data of this hotel. After adding the PK in the URL, we can receive the data and update it to something else. This is the put method. And right now we can see that all the hotels have been updated. Only the hotel that with primary key number 5 was updated. This is generated only when we extend the view set, the model view set, and add only the query set for all the hotels and adding a serializer class. So right now, the serializers, there are different type of serializers in Django REST framework. There's serializers, model serializers, hyperlink model serializer, list serializer. In Django REST framework, you probably would think of a serializer as in Django the forms. A serializers class which gives you a powerful generic way to control the output of your response, as well as a model serializer class which provides a useful shortcut for creating serializers that deals with the model instance and query sets. Right here, as you can see, we have created two serializers. The first one is just serializer. The second class is model serializer. The difference is that in the second class, we only add the class method with the model and the fields that we want to be serialized. As in the Django forms, you can call a serializer is valid method, which will verify if all the data that has come from the request is valid data. You can call is valid and rates an exception. for every field that you have created to your serializer, you can create, as in Django, you can add a valid slash the name of the field. After that, you can create your own custom verification of the data that you have received from the request. Right here, I only think that we have how the serializers are initialized. There, when you want to send a data, you add to your serializer the query set. You can use many if you want to send link data. That means that if there's the data in your serializer, if you have a complicated structure like a foreign key from one class to another, if you set many to, all the data from the serializer will be serialized for you and sent to the response. If you receive some data, of course, you can get the data pass the data from the request data to the serializer class. After that, you will check if the data is okay. If the data is okay, you will raise an exception if probably some field is missing, or the value that you have received from the client side is wrong. So the model serializer class provides a shortcut that lets you automatically create a serializer class with fields that correspond to the model field. From the model serializer, as in the Django forms, when the data is valid, you can only add a save method, and it will create automatically your object, hyperlink model serializer. The hyperlink model serializer class is similar to model serializer class, except that it uses hyperlink to represent relationships rather than primary keys. By default, the serializer will include a URL field instead of a primary key field. The hyperlink fields are hyperlink model serializers. Maybe just use the normal model serializer field with the many true parameter. And last, the list serializers. The list serializer class provides the behavior of serializing, validating multiple objects at once. So if you received a lot of data, or if you need to send a lot of data, you can use the list serializer. But the list serializer is not. You can use only for for the normal serializer, like a serializer or a model serializer. And yeah, that's it for me.
Hello. Okay. Thank you very much, Aleksandar.
Thank you.
I see you, I hear you. It was great. Thank you very much for the talk. Let's see if anybody has questions. There are people still here. Can you see and hear us, guys? Okay. Does anybody have some questions? Or if there are no questions, you can just email us or ask in the Django Bulgaria group on Facebook or in LinkedIn. Oh, thank you, Sashko.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much again, Aleksandar. I guess nobody's gonna ask anything. And again, I'm reminding for the next week for HackConf online talk. If you want to hear more about Flutter, join us on Tuesday. Next month, we are not going to have Django Bulgaria meetup. And we are going to see each other in September. So have a great summer and see you soon. There is a question. Go ahead. Can you see it?
Yes, you can do that very easily. You can add Slugger, you just need to add it to your methods, and it will generate the documentation by itself. Not by itself, there's packages, and it's easily integrated.
Okay, was it useful, the talk for you? Okay, there are still people, so if you have time, we would love to just fill the poll and leave some answers if you have questions. Do you have any other questions? No, I can't see. Okay. Okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
It's summer and see you soon.